What's up, everybody? This is another episode of All In with Nate. It's been a couple of weeks since I got a chance to do it. A lot has happened. Of course, Desmond Ridder became the starting quarterback since our last show. We went out on the bye, but Falcons lost a close one today, 21-18, in Desmond Ridder's first start. He didn't really have the best day at the office passing, but there's potential that was seen in this ball game. Tyler Algier showed his poise. He had over 120 yards rushing in the game. It's just unfortunate that the Falcons had another close game that they lost. And to be honest, at this point, the Falcons are the chances of the playoffs is not as strong at this point. They are 5-9. They're in last place right now because they got swept by New Orleans. So this season is basically over. It could be potentially over. The Falcons' only shot is to make the playoffs by winning the division. They got to win the last 3 games, and their best record they can go is at 8-9. So it's a tough loss for the Falcons, and really could have won the game. But the Falcons do what they typically have done. They've gotten down big. They got down 14-0 early. They start chipping away, and then, of course, the Falcons had an opportunity to win the ball game with less than 3 minutes. They were down 3. Desmond Ridder hit a beautiful 4th down conversion to Drake London, which unfortunately turned into a fumble and went back to New Orleans Saints direction, and they closed it out for a win. So Saints got the sweep over Atlanta this year, and at this point, the season's pretty much over, if you ask me. I don't think we're going to come back and win the division. I don't really care what the standings say. I know the division is bad, but I don't think the Falcons are going to overcome this terrible start. So that's just my personal opinion on the season at this point. To me, the Falcons need to figure out what you have. I think that there are a lot more holes on this team than potential, but those guys, they compete week in and week out. I give them that credit. So we'll see what happens the rest of the week. But let's go to the comments real quick. KD, what's up, bro? Michael Thomas, what's up, bro? I know you was at the game, and of course, y'all know he's on the show with me. He'll probably be back with me on Saturday when the Ravens and Falcons play in Baltimore. Make Drake London walk back. Oh, man, that was so rough. That was rough to watch a fumble from Drake London cost us the game the way it did. And that really, and it's sad because Ridder and Drake actually had some type of chemistry getting going in that game at some point, and then that just unfortunately how the game ended. I feel like Drake London actually had one of his better games today, had a couple of big catches on one of the 2 field goal drives that we had, and it just unfortunately ended with a bad fumble from his end that ultimately cost us the game. He had 70 yards receiving today, which was pretty good for him, but it's unfortunate the Falcons have lost another 1-score game. The Falcons have been notorious for losing 1-score games this year, and that's the difference between being a good team and a bad team. They're in ball games. They're competing to win games, but they're just not getting over the hump. It's either they start slow and make an effort to get back in the game late, and then it's just the game falls apart, or it's a great start, and then the team just find a way to lose the game in the end. This team is just, they got a lot of holes with this team, and I know a lot of people, I've been seeing a lot of people on social media talking about, this is just, you could have stuck with Marcus Mariota. Let me be clear about Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota quit on the team. I'm sure you've heard all the news. I'm sure you've heard all the reports. Let's be real. Marcus Mariota quit on this ball club because he was no longer the starter. And do not put it any other way. Y'all have read the Athletic article. We all knew after the Pittsburgh loss that he was not going to be the quarterback anymore. So please miss me in my mentions talking about we could have did this with Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota's garbage. Let's be real. So let's not even put Marcus Mariota in this category right now. We knew eventually we were going to have to see the rookie. So do not use what we could have done under Marcus Mariota. First of all, Desmond Ridder, this was his first NFL game on the road at New Orleans. So get a guy a break. But also, I will say this right here. For the Falcons to run over 100 yards like we did today Arthur Smith essentially screwed us early in the ball game because he wanted to air it out. This is a rookie quarterback. Do not come out and do what you haven't done all season long. He did it in the Pittsburgh game. Arthur Smith has also been pretty bad the last couple of weeks. The Pittsburgh game a few weeks ago in Atlanta, as you all know, we came out trying to throw the ball all over the field, and then we started running and getting back in the game, and ultimately lost that game close. I'm getting to the point now where Arthur Smith is becoming a problem for this team. Also, I think there's potential on both sides of the ball with this team, but I think that coaching is just not, we don't have good coaches, if you ask me, either. I don't feel that this team has the coaching staff to set them up long term. And for me, I feel like Arthur Smith is caught. Everyone looks at him as a guru because of him having Derrick Henry back in Tennessee. To me, this guy is goofy at the wrong times. I have my ups and downs with Arthur Smith. So I feel that the Falcons really needs to step it up, or at some point we got to move on from Arthur Smith. I think that I don't have an issue so much with the front office. I think there are guys that, again, you've seen all season long that has made plays. Rashaan Evans made a great tackle on what's his name? He made an outstanding tackle on Taysom Hill late in the ball game to go ahead and make it a shot to at least have a one-score game. You've seen Lorenzo Carter, who's also on a one-year deal, made an couple of outstanding plays on defense as well. But I feel like this team has a couple of guys that are potentially really talented, but we don't see a lot of that because either out of position, the guys don't fit his roster. It's not really beneficial from the coaching staff because the coaching staff don't really know what they want to be. A lot of people be asking, what are the Falcons? Are they 3-4, 4-3? They don't know what they are. I can just truly say that they don't know what they are. So that's another problem I have with the Falcons. Mike Thomas said Arthur Smith. Yeah, I was just talking about Arthur Smith. JD, what's going on, bro? He said, hey, bro, again, Falcons fans want to blame the quarterback. I'm still not getting over the fact that we have an inexperienced quarterback coach. Play calling or off of what? Oh, my goodness. I'm glad you brought that play up. That also goes back to Dean Pease. To Arthur Smith. There was that play early in the fourth quarter where we're coming out running a freaking Philly special down 11. Why are you doing that? You don't have – this guy's in his first NFL game where he's playing all four quarters in an actual game where you're playing their best group on the opposite side of the ball. And you're out here trying to run gadget plays, run trick plays. You don't do that. That's just stupid. But it's also Arthur Smith being Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith calls – the problem is Arthur Smith is at times very inexperienced as a head coach, and it shows. It shows a lot. So at this point, you're sitting here running plays. First of all, this is a very, very talent deficient Atlanta Falcon ball club. We don't have a lot of talent, but you're out here trying to read option plays with Felipe Franks, running plays where you're sending Parker Hesse downfield and Ferguson downfield. I mean, you get it. Kyle Pitts is hurt. Also, another thing that was key in this game today, Desmond Ridder is a better passer than Marcus Mariota. But the problem is this. You have guys on your offense at receiver between Zacchaeus and those guys who can't create separation. To me, your fastest guy on your roster is Jameer Byrd, and Jameer Byrd barely gets in the game. You're too busy trying to get guys like Cordero Hodge, guys like Zacchaeus, and not actually like Zacchaeus. But to me, Zacchaeus is not I'm feeding him the ball to move my offense. You got a Drake London who before today, Drake London had 7 for 70 yards, which is pretty good for him because let's think about this. Most of the season, he never really got the ball targeted his way. Today, he got the ball targeted his way several times, which is very impressive. Drake London is the real deal, no matter, despite what he did at the end of the game. The issue is when you don't have a consistent offense, you go out here and call goofy stuff. Again, you're the number 4 team in the NFL in rushing. Why are you coming out making Desmond Ridder throw the ball 5 consecutive times to open the ball game. He's a first-time rookie. Don't do that. But again, that speaks to bad coaching. Let's go to the comments real quick. JE said, yes, this year we have a lot of caps to get talented players on both sides of the ball. We can find better coordinators again. I 100% agree. Honestly, I'm not going to put a pick on a quarterback because the Falcons have way too many needs to be talking about we need to go get another quarterback. Rock out with your rookie. You got 3 more games with him and get an opportunity to see what he can bring to the table. But the reality is the Falcons have several key issues that are deeper than that quarterback. To be honest with you guys, New Orleans still has a very stout defensive line. Next week is going to be maybe the same. You got Baltimore's defensive line at Baltimore. You don't know what the temperature is going to be like up there. Could be snow. Who knows? Who knows what it's going to be like in Baltimore? But the problem is, essentially, the left side of your offensive line is going to be the weakness every single game because the left guard position, the commentator said it perfect. The left guard position is a revolving door because we've seen Wilkinson. We've seen, I think, even Dobbins lined up at that position. Jalen Mayfield, we know, is absolutely garbage. Jake Matthews, it depends on the day. Jake Matthews, some days look like a all-pro left tackle. And then some days he just get absolutely destroyed. And then Drew Dalman, this center, he has to go. I honestly would have played Matt Hennessy more than Drew Dalman. Drew Dalman's had problems with Marcus Mariota as well. But Drew Dalman, a lot of times you're seeing him get absolutely destroyed up front on that defensive line. On the offensive line against the better defenders. So to me, you got to get that in order. And then also defensively, I've been complaining about this every single game. If you're on my Facebook, if you watch my Facebook weekly when the Falcons are playing, you see me complain about this particular thing every single week. The Falcons the issue is not so much at edge rusher. The issue is, number one, we don't know what the scheme is. When Lorenzo Carter and Arnold Ebiketie, the rookie out of Penn State, get on the field, they create the most pressure. But then when you put Ongadeji from Notre Dame out there on the field, when you put Abula Anderson, Timmy Harm, these are guys who should be at best a 4th string on the better teams in the league. They're getting snaps as if they're productive starters alongside Grady Jarrett. And you wonder why we get gashed by most teams on the ground, because they're double teaming Grady and the other D tackles can't make the play 90% of the time. That's the problem with the Falcons. You got the linebacker position where you have a young Trey Anderson, he's learning. Rashaan Evans, honestly, if he and Lorenzo Carter would be my 2 top picks to return as a Falcon next season, they're both on 1-year deals. But then when you look at the other positions at linebacker, Michael Walker absolutely is awful. And I don't know what happened to him. He was a great linebacker in Dan Quinn's scheme. He just fell off. He's similar to like Deion Jones. He just fell off. Secondary, outside of A.J. Terrell, the whole secondary can be replaced. Casey Hayward was good when he was healthy, but, I mean, he's getting older, so can't really depend on that. But the Falcons have more needs than QB at this point. You want to give Desmond Ridder his chance, maybe spend a late pick on the quarterback, but a top 1st, 2nd round pick, absolutely not. You have way too many needs. Go to the next comments. The Real, what's up, bro? He said, to be honest, the Saints played terrible. 2 terrible teams, bound to have. Yeah, it was a bad game on probably one of the worst Falcons Saints games I've watched. Week 1 was a pretty good Falcons Saints game because both teams were pretty much healthy. Mariota actually played a good game that day. We just blew that game. But overall, the Falcons just did not hold on to win that game last time around. And then today, the Saints really could have put this thing on ice early, but they're not dominant. And the Falcons started creeping back in the game. And then, of course, that unfortunate fumble cost them the game. JD said, well, I keep changing the engine and we only have, I personally want to see more of Desmond Ridder. I don't want to see we gave Mariota 13 games, and why not get a guy the remaining 4 games and see what he can do? And if you feel that you want to go ahead and get a quarterback just to say, hey, if he don't work out, I'm gonna work with this guy right here. I truly would. It's okay. I'm truly okay with that. So the Falcons really need sticking to that. We go some more comments. JD also said, I think the people forget this first game. They expect him to throw. This is a great comment. And let me just put this out here too. I think fans, you have some fans who was ready to see Ridder. Then you have some fans who came with way higher expectations because it goes back to what I was saying. I actually said this off air about Abdullah Anderson. Abdullah Anderson had a great preseason. I wanted him on the roster. But again, you're going to dominate third and fourth string players in preseason. This was Desmond Ridder's first legitimate time getting a chance to get on the field, seeing what the opposing crowd's going to do. New Orleans is a pretty tough place to play at, no matter what. But I will say this, a non-side note, that was probably one of the worst attendance for Falcons Saints games I've seen in that stadium in a long time. That stadium did not look full, and that is just not like Saints fans. Guess they're done with this team, but they just got to win today. But again, that's a tough showing, and then next week is going to be even tougher. Baltimore is in the postseason race. They had a tough loss on the road at Cleveland. They're going to play tough at home because they're closing in on a playoff appearance. So he's going to have his hands full next week too. So that's the reality of the situation for the Falcons also. So we may not get a chance to really see what this is going to be a chance for him to prove himself because, again, this back three was the brutal part of the schedule that we talked about from week 1. We said that once it got to the back three, it was going to be very challenging for the Falcons to see what happens against the Baltimore Ravens on Saturday. You got the Cardinals. You will be back home against the Cardinals. That Cardinals team is not that good this year. But again, I will never count out a J.J. Watt and those guys over there, Buda Baker. Those guys are still pretty good. And then Tampa, depending on what happens today, they're probably going to be playing for the division, depending on what Tampa team actually shows up. So that's another thing. So we're going to get a chance to see a little more about him over the next couple of weeks. He also said D. Alford is developing. I like D. Alford. And I don't feel like D. Alford gets enough snaps on that team. He had a very nice breakup on Juwan Johnson in the fourth quarter that actually gave the Falcons a chance to cut back into the game. So D. Alford don't get enough snaps. I don't feel like the Falcons really know what their scheme is. So it's kind of hard to really say this guy don't fit your scheme, that guy don't fit your scheme, that guy don't fit your scheme. We don't really know what the scheme is. On paper, it's a 3-4 defense. But many times I have seen us go out here against the pass. It is 4 defensive tackles rushing the quarterback. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? It just doesn't make any sense. JD said, I will say this, Jared Barnhart can be a really good receiver. I know he's on IR, but he needs PT next year. We'll get a chance to see. I know he's definitely been on IR. And I think that the Falcons may address that in free agency. I think he's going to get addressed in free agency. So we'll see what happens with the Falcons. But I will say this again, going into the last 3 games, I had the Falcons winning 6 or 7 games before the season even started, and they're at 5 right now. So you're getting a chance to see what you can bring to the table with this group. But I feel like at this point, you kind of have an idea of what this team is. This is not a good football team. It is impressive that this team has competed in nearly every single one of the games that they've been in. They haven't lost by a big margin other than the game at Cincinnati back in October. They've been in every game to win. They just have not been able to close them out. And that's the difference of not really having the most talented team, vice versa to who you're going up against. So, tough loss for the Falcons. I hate getting swept by the Saints. But let me go to the stat line so we can just kind of talk about the stats from this game. Let me pull this up. Also, At the moment, the Falcons were number 10 entering the NFL draft for 2023. I think that pick's going to be a little higher because I think the Saints was number 5 coming into the weekend. I think that pick's going to be a little bit higher once they come out and with the draft order. I'll definitely, of course, I'll post them on Facebook if you're on my Facebook. But let's go to the full box score. As y'all see, the Falcons lost 21-18. They scored 15 in the second half and just couldn't overcome it. Desmond Ridder's first game, 13 of 26 for no touchdowns. He got sacked 4 times. Didn't have the best passer rating. Andy Dalton had a $151, 2 touchdowns. Taysom Hill threw a dot to Rashid Shaheed, who is, to me, emerging as the second best receiver on the Saints. But that's a story for another day. Tyler Algier had an outstanding day at the office today for the Falcons. 17 carries for a $139 the touchdown, averaged 8.2 yards to carry. Tyler Algier, as I said on my Facebook, and I'm going to put it out here, he is RB1. I know a lot of mock drafts have the Falcons taking a running back in the draft in the first round. You do not need to do that. You have a running back for your future. Do not draft a guy. Cordero Patterson, of course, he had 52 and a touchdown. Desmond Ridder had 38 yards versus an 18-yard run. As you see, Kamara was 21 for 91. Taysom Hill was 7 for 30. They ran the ball pretty decent, but it just wasn't their standard day. As I mentioned also earlier, Drake London had 7 for 70. He had some pretty good catches in this game. McCole Pruitt was the second closest leading receiver from there. Rashid Shaheed, 3 for 95. Jawan Johnson had 4 for 67 and 2 touchdowns. Olave had 3 for 53. Kamara had 2 for 13. But those were the stats on that end. As we said earlier, Drake London lost a fumble in the game. The Saints had 2 fumbles themselves that they lost. Defensively, Rashawn Evans, he had an outstanding day. He had 10 tackles and a sack and a forced loss. Grady Jarrett and Lorenzo Carter both had a combined sack and a tackle for a loss. That's guys who I want to see back on the roster going forward. Demario Davis had 8 tackles. Marcus May had 7. Shai Tuttle, the D tackle, had 7. It was a pretty decent balanced game on both sides for both teams. But that's the stat line for this game. And the Falcons are, once again, like I said, they're 5-9. They're getting ready to go to Baltimore this weekend on Saturday. Matter of fact, everyone, if you are aware, Christmas is Sunday, so all NFL games will be Saturday with the exception of a few. So, again, we'll see what the Falcons bring to the table. Also, I said I was going to mention about the Falcons draft order. At the moment, I'm hearing that we came into the day at number 10. So, with the Falcons loss to Saints, of course, their pick goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. And that pick, they're actually going to drop. They have officially dropped the 9th. I'm looking at the standings right now. The Falcons currently are going to be the number 7 pick in the draft. At this moment, I'm looking at Tankathon. If you are a person that pays attention to the mock drafts, I'll pull up real quick so I can show it to you guys so you can see what's the current ones after the 1 o'clock games. Let me go back. Give me a second. As you see, the Falcons currently are going to be number 7 at the moment, as you can see. Okay, making sure it's up on the screen. They're number 7 on the board right now. New Orleans with a win dropped down to 9th. That pick goes to Philadelphia. That was the trade that they got for Trevor Penning on draft night. So, as you can see, this is the current setup of the top 10. So the Falcons moved up to number 7 at the moment. Of course, there are games going on right now. Denver and Seattle. Somebody got to win that game. If it's Arizona, they may jump ahead of the Falcons. Falcons might be in the top 6 before the night's over. Who knows? I don't think it's going to be in the higher, but we'll see. But that's just to give you an update if you are one of those fans who love watching the draft. And that's really your update right there. But with that being said, this has been a quick recap of the Falcons game. The Falcons lost a heartbreaker to New Orleans, 21-18 to fall to 5-9, and in last place, unfortunately now. The playoffs is not over yet unless Tampa wins his game today, and then we'll probably see it's over. But with that being said, man, this has been another episode of All In with Nate. You guys have a good rest of the afternoon. And if you don't get a chance to tune into the stream before Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I will be back on tomorrow on another platform. You should see me on Kingpins talking about the college football playoffs. Well, until then, go Falcons, and we'll see them next week.